Okay, David. Hi there.
All right. Janet, welcome. This is Fun Financial Fridays for Friday, October the 11th. I can't believe it already. The verge of a long weekend. I think those that want to be here today are already started their long weekend. And so I just want to talk to you a little bit about some concerns that people that I'm speaking to have about money. And one of
Sure.
the things we mentioned just off air was in a report yesterday, just yesterday in the news, well, actually last week, Canadian consumers are less ready for a recession than they were 11 years ago. And so there's been a lot of talk about the that another recession's coming, and that Canadians aren't prepared. So, um, first of all, you know, what's your take on recessions? Or is it a bad kind of thing to happen, or are there opportunities still? Because some people get a little bit freaked out when they hear the R word. So, what's your take on that first, and then let's look at maybe some ways that we can prepare ourselves.
Sure. So for me, a recession is not necessarily a bad thing. I think that a recession is part of balance.
Mm-hmm.
It's like every day can't be a great day, right? When would we grow, right? When would we have gratitude if all we ate was steak every day, right? And so I think recession is a very natural part of the ebb and flow of life. Um, but I certainly can understand why people are concerned or why people are actually afraid, right? But we have to remember that the media really does come from a place of fear,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we need to remember that what we're consuming, what we're watching, what we're listening to really is primarily about creating fear,
Right.
right? There's not a whole lot of positivity out there. There's not a whole lot of upliftment in the main media experience, right?
Right.
And so we need to take that into consideration of what we're consuming is going to affect how we're feeling. Okay. So now down to the numbers, like the reality is that most families are doing their best, right, with their finances. They're often overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
right, and they often are coming up to hiccups in their finances that they kind of push through it and utilize the band-aids that are available out there, only to have the same experience happen again to see if they're going to make a different choice, right? And, my answers are not easy answers, David. I wish I could say, okay, friends, just do this and you'll be fine, right? Like, I so wish I could do that. But unfortunately, when I work with a family to create awareness and show them foundationally where they're at so that they can make the positive financial decisions for themselves through any weather, whether it be a recession or, the boom, right? It takes time and it's custom and it takes 5 hours to really dig into that and organize things to get that clarity for people, right?
Right.
And so it's hard for me to answer that and say, well, you need to get clarity on your finances, because I think honestly, it's the fear of not knowing. It's the not knowing that resonates with the fear from the media. That's not something I could just say with a sentence, this is what you need to fix. And I'm really
Right. And
sorry. Did I even answer your question?
yeah, a little bit, but it's also the fear of the pain, and we don't know what the pain's going to be. When I hear recession, I hear cutbacks, I hear no business, I hear we're going to have to make do with less,
Job
So
loss.
job loss, financial loss, people not spending. How do we manage that fear of the pain and kind of turn it around and shift it? Like what are some ideas or methodology, or or thinking that we need to embrace to help us not get so wrapped up in the possible pain and that fear.
Well, definitely our mindset,
Mm-hmm.
is something that we do have control over, whether we know that or not, right? So definitely, like I said, watch what you're consuming, and also become more aware of what you're thinking and what your mind is saying, right? What are the words going on up here? And if you find that they're negative, then one of the things and one of the tools and strategies that I recommend people do is say, well, look at your finances and start focusing on what you're doing well. What's going right in your life, right? When I work with families and they have, $300,000 in RSPs and they feel lack, something that I need to work on with them, right? Because what they're seeing is they're not where they want to be. And what I help them do is focus on all the abundance that they do have, right? So that's certainly a strategy with, looking at what is your fear? Is your fear job loss, right? And then if you're always saying, oh my God, I might lose my job. Oh, look at all the cuts. Oh, look at this store's closing, that type of thing. Then what I would recommend you to do is say, okay, so what is the opposite of that can help soothe your fear or override the fear messaging that you're receiving and that you're sustaining for yourself? And that may be, well, I have a ton of skills, right? So if there is a job loss, I have a ton of skills. I have a great network, right? I have a great network to reach out to that could utilize my skills so that I could get another job if that happened. Do you see what I mean, David?
Totally. Yeah, I think it's time to be creative, and to really dig a little deeper. Like we are like amazing human beings. We're and sometimes I think we don't even realize our total capabilities. So I think it is a chance to get creative. It is maybe even a chance to take some risks as well. Maybe do business outside of Canada
Yes.
and research that. Like how do I want to do business in, I don't know, the Caribbean. Who do I need to talk to? Right?
Yes.
Go to
Yes.
where the money is. Like if it's bad here, or if, and that's the word, if,
Yes. Yes.
then look elsewhere. And
For
what's
sure.
stopping us from doing it?
Yeah.
What's your take on, being more creative, being more open, taking more risks, and you know, challenging ourselves to think differently?
I think it's a great idea, and it's a great way to get out of that stagnancy. If you've been feeling negative and you've been feeling scared for a long time about something, and then it's time to shake it up. You're exactly right, David. It's time to do something different. It's time to open your mind and, you know, meditate and see what comes to you. See what sparks your light again. Because again, when I work with businesses, it's that passion that drives us to do what we do, right, David? And when we've lost that spark, when we've lost that passion and we're overcome with fear and doubt, it's crippling. It's absolutely crippling. So we want to break that stagnancy and we want to give ourselves some space and say, you know what, I'm really excited to try something new. I'm really excited to have a new idea, a fresh idea that lights that spark under my behind and guides me maybe to somewhere different that I've never went before, that both excites me and terrifies me. But that, wow, is it really going to freshen up my life, my business, my experience? And maybe along the way, I might make some freaking money too.
Sure,
I
sure.
think your chances of making money with that type of energy is a hell of a lot better than, trying to spark something with two wet pieces of wood. Right?
Yeah, yeah. And if you're stuck in that fear sort of mentality, that's there's the two pieces of wet wood. You're not going to get very far.
You're not going to get very far. And I think, it all happens for a reason. Like, I do believe it's not like I've never been stagnant, right?
Mm,
And I do believe that, there's lessons and there's learning in difficult times. You know, when families fall apart, when somebody loses a job or, you know, loses a home, you know, it's hard to find the positive in that. And sometimes people aren't ready to get there, right? But we keep trying, and sometimes that's okay to sit there for a while and reflect, right? What didn't work? What do I know now that I didn't know before? What have I learned? How
Hmm.
have I grown? You know, I'm in a mastermind group right now. I haven't been in one in a few years, and I'm finding the reflection aspect of it so valuable. So valuable. And sometimes I think reflection, not sometimes, all the time, can be very valuable for ourselves in our personal lives and our businesses, right?
Yeah, yeah, and um, I like that you're talking about meditation and reflection and a timeout. In your role as a money counselor, do you advise your clients to do more of that? I know you've got a spiritual approach to your business and your
Mhm.
life. Do you
Mhm.
advise your clients to go within a bit more and visualize and meditate and do that inner work?
I don't,
Okay.
unless the client is sharing with me similar beliefs,
Mm,
then I will. But generally, I don't bring my spirituality to my business in that obvious a way, right? It's part of who I am, so it can't help but be there in like weaved in. But what I do, David, which is a little bit more general, is help people realize how overwhelmed and busy they are. Because I think that our society has really given us a gold star for
mhm.
doing so much. You know, we get a gold star for all of our achievements, right? And what I find with my clients is they are so busy. And they're overwhelmed and they're disorganized and they're frustrated. And I think that doing less, that may not be, you know, meditation per se, but doing less and giving them that permission to do less and acknowledging all of their efforts and all of their achievements and trying to encourage them to, you know, take some time to do nothing, take some time to rest, take some time to have joy in a more day-to-day fashion, or even week to week or month to month, depending on the client, right? Like if this client is the type of client who only takes a vacation once a year, then definitely we would start with like a month to month planting that seed, right? Try to do something for themselves, maybe one Friday afternoon a month to start, to reflect, to celebrate, to honor all of the work that they do. But we get into these patterns, right? And it just becomes habit.
Yeah, and money is a big trigger.
Huge.
Like for everything, we wrap our self worth in it. We wrap our who we are as people. We have stories about it. So how do we begin to sort of collapse those stories and disengage from who we are in how and what our money situation is? How do we begin to
Okay. Are you ready for this one?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I love this question because really it has to do with the definition of money and what we define as money. And society has defined money as something outside of us, right? It's
Hmm.
it's something that we receive or that we earn. And what I would respond to your question as is, let's start to broaden how we actually see money. What if we saw money as energy? Because really that's what it is. And without going down that big spiritual trail, money is energy. Everything is energy. The time I took to get dressed and to do my hair and makeup today is energy. Effort is energy. Picking up the phone and checking in on someone is energy, right? The amount of money we receive in exchange for doing a task or doing our work That's an energy exchange, right?
Yeah.
So if we believe that, then let's expand it a little bit and say, okay, so if my energy of money is not returning to us what we are putting out, why is that?
Yeah, why?
Why?
Because we were
Why?
talking a little bit about that and
Right?
letting
Are
go of
we
those sort of clients or those the work that we're doing. If it's not flowing and it's not easy, then maybe it's time to let go.
to let go, reevaluate, to see, does it bring us joy?
Hmm.
Because I'll tell you, doing work that you dislike immensely is not good energy,
No.
right? And so the exchange, when you're doing work and you're like rah, 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 rah,
Yeah,
rah,
yeah.
rah, doing it, the energy that you're putting into that, what are you getting back? And because one of the laws of our world is give and take and about balance, and everybody's promoting balance. When we look at money as energy, we start to realize that maybe it's because we don't want to do it. And if we were getting paid really, really well, we would have to do something that we don't really want to do.
Right.
Right? But again, we need to have the reflection time in order to get those nuggets of information, right? To allow space for us to be able to reflect on that. And again, I don't want to say that people aren't doing a good job and they're not worthy, but you need to understand is that a lot of these things are subconscious, right? They're not conscious. And so it's only with that reflection that we're going to get the information, because it's deeper. It's deeper than the house we live in and the car we drive, right? And, one of the ways that we can measure, David, is by thinking about a topic that's a little less triggering, because like you said, money's really sensitive, right?
Hmm.
So is there another example in your life? Or is there an example in your life that you feel there's an equal exchange and that you have a lot of joy around? And then compare that example with the example of money that you're experiencing, and maybe you can get some insight as to the similarities and differences. Does that make sense?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And I like the fact that we need to maybe go in and analyze and reflect and shift. And I think that's what life is these days. And it is moving a mile a minute. Things are changing every day. The energy is pretty intense, right? We're going through a vast amounts of change on the planet in how we work and how we live, and with technology and AI coming on board and driverless cars. And I mean, gosh, if you think about how things have just exploded technology wise alone in the past few years, it's mind boggling.
It
So,
really is. It really
and,
is. And
and
the
wait,
recession, there's got to be some balance, right? There's
right.
got to be some balance to that explosion of energy and opportunities and ideas and technology expansion. There's got to be that rest and right, that ebb and flow.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to quote Scotty from Star Trek. The ship can't take it, Captain. It's like, and sometimes we need that rest and reflection, and those are two other R words, right?
They
Those are
are.
those are better R words.
They
But
are. And a lot of it is our perception of things,
yeah,
right? Some people think divorce is a terrible thing. Well, guess what? I think it's a beautiful thing. And so, why is that? What am I focused on? Am I focused on the loss? Am I focused on the fact that the family isn't together and the parents aren't together for the kids? Or am I focused on the growth that each individual has had, right? Am
yeah,
I focused on the lessons? Am I focused on the strength that the children and the parents have learned to have? A
yeah,
lot of the times it is our perception of the situation, and we have control over that. We need to start to recognize that it's how we're thinking about it. And I learned that in counseling many, many moons ago. It was solution focused counseling. And I'm going to share with you the example. And
mhm,
maybe the listeners who are being challenged with this can do this exercise for themselves, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the opportunity was write down your worst client.
Oh, boy.
Write down a paragraph about your worst client. We were all social service workers, so that was no problem,
yeah.
right? So we were all writing like viciously. And then the counselor said, okay, so now that you've written about your worst client, now I want you to write about the same client, but I want you to write about everything that's positive about them. And we were like this.
I
Like,
don't know.
as if, right? And I had somebody want to fight me when I was 8.5 months pregnant.
Oh my God.
I know, right? So that was my worst
Client.
client.
Yeah.
So, but what happened was, is she assured us, she said, trust me, take a few minutes and really focus. And David, I was astonished when I was able to write just as much about that client that was positive. Just as much.
We need to do that with ourselves though too, because again, you know, when we look at our money situation, we don't have enough of it, then we feel guilty, we feel bad about ourselves. Oh, I should be, or this should be this. And it is what it is.
It is what it is. And it's what we focus on that will make it more of that, right? If we focus on the lack, if we focus on what we don't have, if we focus on the fear, if we focus on all of this that doesn't feel good, we're going to get more of it and we're going to feel more of it.
Right.
If we take the time to reflect on what's working well. Yeah, you may have credit card debt that you don't want and that you feel bad about because you got rid of it once and now it's back.
Mm-hmm.
That's a common theme for my clients. But how about looking at it like, I can pay the minimum payment every month?
Yeah.
Right? How about saying, I still have room on my credit card, it's not maxed out? Or whatever your situation, find the positive.
And you
find the positive in it and start looking at those positives each and every day. And I assure you, me as a viewer, it will shift things for you. It will shift the way you are experiencing that fear or that crisis right today.
Yeah. And there are, you know, a couple of people that want to be here today, and they're going through crisis, life change, bills, work, you know, health issues affecting work. How can they sort of get into that frame of mind of rising above their current situation and having hope again from a financial perspective?
Okay, so with all due respect to them, you know, crisis is not fun. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I really want to just acknowledge that health crises, financial crises, it's not fun and it's not easy, right? So I want to just acknowledge that, because what I'm going to say isn't always appreciated, right? However, if we want to rise above it, we need to choose to. We need to stop repeating the same words, the same stories, and focusing on the pain, the loss, the debt, the fear. We need to stop focusing on that. And we will when we're ready, but we need to realize that we can focus on something different. And even if it means one thing, because think about it, to rise above something, I get an image of being lighter,
mm-hmm.
right? And so when you're in the thick of crisis, it's very heavy. It's very heavy. Some people have a hard time getting out of bed. Some people have a hard time moving off the couch because they're in so much pain. So I appreciate that. But we need to recognize that if we stay there, we will stay there. And so find one thing that's good. Find one thought that makes you feel better. Find one thought that gives you relief, if only for 3 seconds. Okay? And if you can do that, then you can do it again. Okay? If you can do that, you can repeat it. And one day it will be one thought. Maybe in 3 days, you're going to think, I'm going to do 2 thoughts. I'm going to double my effort. I'm going to think of 2 thoughts today that are going to give me 3 seconds of relief, right?
Yeah.
And again, sometimes this is hard to do for ourselves. You know, maybe you're going to need some support around that, right? With a friend or a family member or somebody that lifts you up, somebody that doesn't stay where you are with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's helpful, David. You know, like I said, from a financial perspective, it's not easy to just fix in one 5-minute question, or nobody would have any financial issues, right?
Right. And we all, and, you know, it's funny you say that. When I did my radio show a number of years ago, I was so excited. I think it was the first year of the show. And I got bold about it. And I went after some big name guests. And I got them. It's like, oh my God, they said yes. One was Michael Gerber, the author of The E-Myth.
Yes.
And he's
Love it. Love that book.
Yeah, it's a great book. And he's the guy that coined the phrase working on your business rather than in it. And I asked him about money. And he said, well, when you come down to money, none of us have enough. And I thought about that after the show, and I said, you know, he's right. None of us have enough. Although it looks like on Facebook that we, you know, some people are doing way better than others. But, you know, that's Facebook. You're not privy to their bank balance or their bank statements or their debt ratio. So I embraced that knowledge and share. And I went, yeah, none of us have enough. So what am I complaining about? You know, it's like, I'm in good company. And and I think if we think like that, you know, like the money problem goes away, because like, yeah, it's never enough, really. We never have enough.
Yeah, it's a tough one for me because I don't believe that, and I'm not going to argue with David Gerber though. What I would say is Michael Gerber, sorry, is to bring it. It does bring us to the present moment, does it? Where our power is.
Yeah.
And so, and you're right on the fact that most people are looking to the future. And that does bring a lot of fear in, because it's not enough. And how am I going to do this? And when am I going to be able to do that?
Right.
When we can recognize in the moment that we do have enough.
Yeah.
In this moment.
In this moment, everything is okay.
Right.
Because we're either living in the past or we're afraid of a future to come. And why are we creating a negative future?
Right. And again, that not having enough, I feel like I have enough, David, right? Like I feel abundant in my life. Mm-hmm. Now, if you were to look at my bank account or my investments, you may not think so. But what matters most is about what we think and how we feel. And when we make a decision of whether it's enough or good enough based on Facebook, based on the news, based on other things that we don't know the truth behind, right? Then it's not really a fair comparison. I always encourage people that the only comparison I make in my life is from me to me, right? Am I a better version? Do I have more skills? Do I have more assets? Do I have more equity? Do I have, what do I have more of? What am I abundant in today, right?
Right.
And get out of that past and future mentality.
Yeah, great advice. Tony Robbins also said too, in his teachings, there were more millionaires created in the Great Depression than ever before.
Yes.
And one of the reasons I feel that's so is, especially with maybe potential recession coming, and I say potential because it's not here yet.
Right.
But one of the reasons is that there's more pain. And, you know, if you can solve, the greater the pain you solve, the more money you make. So if you can get your mind around that, solving people's pain, you know, people will pay for that. They'll find the money, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, people are aligned with you. Those are your clients, is the ones that you're speaking to, and that they trust that you can help them resolve the problem, right?
Yeah. And all we can do at the end of the day is just do our best. I mean, if we're chipping away, at debt, or if we're watching our spending and we're being mindful. And I
Very
say
good
mindful
point.
because I don't want people to just say, oh, I better not spend anything, or, no, have a good time, enjoy, go for a nature trail walk, sit in the sun with a book, you see a friend for a coffee as opposed to lunch or a dinner, like,
Exactly.
do
Exactly. Those are the little practical applications, David, and I appreciate you bringing that up because that is something that's tangible. And so, definitely when I work with families, I set them up for success. So it's not like, oh, things are really tight. You're not allowed any spending money, right? Well, that's not setting people up for success.
or fun.
Or fun. It's setting people up for failure.
Yeah.
And so there has to be that balance, right?
Yeah.
There has to be that balance. And like you said, if you choose to go out for coffee or breakfast over a dinner and still okay with it, right? And still being okay with that, not feeling like you're sacrificing, not feeling like you're missing out. I think that feeling is a big piece of it, right?
Yeah.
Our energy, how we feel when we're doing it is very important. And that's our guide. Okay. That's our guide to if it's right for us.
Right. We'll close on this note. There's lots of fun things you can do for free. The library is a place where you can go and they've got movie nights and music and workshops and things like that. I post every summer a guide to like over 30 things you can do for free in the summer or low cost.
I see you post that. And I will share with you that one of the things that I've learned working with the spectrum of clients that I have, low income families, homeless families, to very wealthy families, is wealthy people have no issue getting free things.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see the wealthiest people wearing the shirts from businesses who've sent them their swag, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rich people wear swag all the time. They don't spend their money on designer clothes. They save their money for things that they want. And designer clothes isn't one of them, especially when people are giving them clothes for free. Mm-hmm. And what I learned was with a lot of my low-income families, there was a lot of shame going to a secondhand store. And I would share with them that my husband and I at the time both made good money and I shopped secondhand. And it was because the more money that I saved on certain things, because as the kids are little, they grow all the time, right? So I just bought secondhand up until they got to be like 11 or 12. And the money that I saved, I got to put in things that I enjoyed, like vacations and trips and renovations and things like my goals. And so again, that library thing, people might feel like they're deprived or they're feeling lack because they're doing community events that are free. But again, we go back to mindset, don't we? It's good to dig into that. Why do I feel that way? Where in my upbringing was that message given to me? Because I'll tell you, a lot of people who have a lot of money have no issues participating or choosing lower cost or free options.
Yeah.
Right? So don't be, right?
No, I agree. Well, that's all the time we have. This is sort of a taste of what you'll get on our next call, November 29th.
Yes.
We're waiting a bit for Fun Financial Fridays. We're going to do this once a month. And just chime in. You got an issue, a question, a challenge you're having? We're here to help. And that's really all it's about. And if you like what it is and the help you got, then you want to pay by a little donation to an energy exchange for Janet and I, then please do. But I hope this discussion today helped. I know it helped me a little bit. I feel a little bit lighter and better.
Awesome.
I'm going to fly away now. No,
okay, thanks, David, so much.
I'll try walking first there, Janet. All right. Now you're at themoneycounselor.com?
Yes, themoneycounselor.com.
All right. And I'm at thedavidcohengroup.com. Have a great day, everybody, and continued success. Thanks, Janet.
Bye. Take care. Bye.